A very good noon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the day two of SATTE GenX. Firstly, I would like to thank each one of you for such an overwhelming response on day one. We had over 2,200 attendees for our conference yesterday, and we expect a similar support from you all for the day two as well. Let's kickstart our day two with our first knowledge session of the day: Tourism Association Managing a Global Crisis. The session will discuss on how tourism associations have managed or are looking at tackling the challenges posed by the pandemic. We have an eminent lineup of speakers. This session will be moderated by one of the most loved and respected leaders from our industry. He is currently SCOL India first Vice President and President elect for 2020-2022. SCOL International, as you all know, is the world's largest global network of tourism professionals promoting tourism, travel, business, and friendship worldwide since 1934. Its members are directors and executives of the tourism sector who connect with each other to address issues of common interest, improving a business network, and promoting destinations. SCOL International is present in 102 countries with 343 clubs representing 13,471 members established in 1934. SCOL International in India is present with 14 clubs representing 1,162 members. May I please welcome Mr. Karl Vaz, first Vice President, SCOL India, to take the session forward. Over to you, Mr. Karl.
Thank you, Akshay Kumar, and thank you to Informer Markets and SATTE GenX events for hosting this this amazing session. I'm honored to be able to moderate in front of such illustrious speakers. We have with us this afternoon, joining us from Thailand, we have Ms. Pornthip Hirunkate, who is the Vice President for the Association of Thai Travel Agents. Atta, thank you, ma'am, for being here. It's an honor and a pleasure. Thank you so much. We have with us Mr. Paul Leung. He's the chairman of the Hong Kong Inbound Travel Association. Thank you so much, Mr. Leung, for joining us from Hong Kong. I know it's well into the afternoon over there. Keeping in line with our international illustrious speakers, we have our own Indian, former president of Thai, but he's currently the president for United Federation of Travel Agents, Ufta, Mr. Sunil Kumar. Mr. Sunil Kumar, welcome, sir, and thank you for being here. We also have Mr. Pranab Sarkar. He's the president for the Indian Association of Tour Operators, IOTO. Sir, thank you so much for being here this afternoon. And of course, we all have and know this wonderful gentleman called Mr. Pradeep Lulla. He's the president of the Travel Agents Federation of India. Mr. Pradeep Lulla, thank you for being here. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for taking time. And it is an honor, once again, like I said, to be able to moderate this session. We have several hot topics to discuss that are relevant to our current situation. I'm going to throw open the floor with a question. And I would like, of course, the lady from Thailand, Kun Adi, whether you can start first. So the question is, how has your association managed member expectations during the COVID in terms of business downturn or loss? Was there some sort of intervention by your association in terms of intervening with aviation, hospitality, government, especially when it came to taxes or refunds? Since there was a lockdown for several months, in most countries it lasted well over 2 months to 3 months. So can you share with us something that your association, ATA, did during this crisis, Kunari? Kunadi, are you there? Are you able to hear us? Okay, I think we will.
I think there is some
bring her back.
network issue.
I'd like to address this question to Mr. Leung from the Hong Kong Travel Association.
Yeah, good morning. Our association is actually because of the COVID-19, our business practically turns to be zero. And of course, according to the members, although you are doing the inbound or the outbound, and you are facing a very difficult time, especially the inbound in Hong Kong. We are facing almost 1 year without business. For the past year, what we can do with the members is we are trying to teach the member uh, first how to stay strong and how we have to be here. And the important thing is, first we have to talk to the government to make the subsidies. Second is we have to tell the members to diversify their business. Of course, inbound business is practically zero, and we have to turn our business into some other sorts, like the retail business. A lot of the agents are selling merchandise instead of doing tour. And of course, one thing good is the government is helping us a lot, and they are really subsidizing a lot of agents with money, with funding, and also especially for the parking, the bus parking, and they are giving us a free parking service and all these things to our members. And of course, there as association, we need to be stay strong. But how do we need to stay strong? The number one is, other than all this funding, helping locations, parking, and and we are asking the government to pay for our staff. Uh, it looks ridiculous, but it is. Hong Kong government is really helping our trade to subsidize um, 9,000 Hong Kong dollars per staff per month for the last 6 months. So at least we can survive a bit. So and other than that, what we can do is we are looking forward that the government is trying to to operate the health code so that we can have earlier earlier that we can open up our border. So at least we can receive some of our clients from Southeast Asia or especially China. This is at the moment that's what we are trying to do. And of course, in the meantime, the local travel agency is working hard for domestic tour. That is we are trying to work on some uh, health tour, economy tour, what we call the green tour, and also we are trying to ask the government to subsidize some of the tour packages for us. So at the moment, this is what we can do now.
Thank you so much, Mr. Leung. Mr. Sunil Kumar, can I come to you, please? Especially a lot of our travel trade fraternity members in India, and I'm sure you have members across the world that have had issues with refunds, cancellation, and various other policy issues. Can you give us a perspective on what UFTA has done to alleviate membership issues?
Yeah. Thank you.
The refund
Thank you.
is really,
Thank you, Carl.
go
Thank you
ahead.
very much, Carl. Good afternoon to everyone. This is Sunil Kumar, and I'm delighted to be a part of this GenX knowledge session. COVID-19 has been a major disruption, particularly for the travel and tourism industry. And the role of associations has become increasingly relevant and important. What kind of a handholding could we extend makes a big difference in such situations. And I'm very delighted that Ufta has been bang on for almost 4.5 months now. Most countries required assistance with governments or associations because Ufta is basically a federation, and we have national associations of several countries with us. And these associations required assistance from a global body like Ufta with assistance from governments. And we have done a lot of handholding, sent out material for them. And I'm very delighted that in several countries of the world, there has been a direct financial support by the government. This also includes payments of salaries to travel staff, which is very, very welcoming. And it was exciting to learn from various associations the benefit that they got out of a global connect like Ufta, because they kept on adding a lot of documentation and our documentation mattered. Ufta is on the global panel of IATA, where we have Ufta members, we have European Travel Association members, and then we have the airlines, and then we have the IATA. And almost for 3 months, or even more than 3 months, every Thursday we have a global meeting, PAPGJC, and at every single meeting we kept on bringing up issues. And I'm very, very excited to share with you that thanks to our perseverance, a lot of IATA has been able to chase with a lot of airlines and has been able to get the refunds going in favor of the agents. So that was another very big help. Initially, the airlines were very reluctant to pass on credit shells favoring the association, favoring the travel companies, and they were very keen to only give it to passengers, which we had to nullify because passengers may travel or may not travel. So any credit shell favoring the passenger would be of no consequence at all. So we were successfully able to get that done. And of course, a number of agencies required handholding with getting reconnected with IATA despite a default. And those were also situations that we were able to successfully encounter. On tourism front, during the month of August and September, what we decided is we would start on the process of educating our associations. And we had our Ufta Media Forum, one in October and part two one in August and part two in September. And I'm very delighted that we had over 200 delegates from 25 countries joined together and connected with one another. There's a strong connect that's going on. Now our agents, our associations, our members are realizing that without online, there is no way forward to promote tourism. Getting the destination right, working with the government, instilling public confidence, these are one aspect. But the main aspect is how would you as a tour operator, as a tourism professional, as a travel agent extend your handholding to your customers? And you can't do it without technology. So Ufta Connect is a major initiative that we brought in, and we are working on it, bringing the whole world under our tourism platform. We have our Ufta tourism headquarters in a very beautiful building in Istanbul. It's a 2-floor building, and very soon Ufta would start off an exchange program where tourism professionals of different countries would be able to interdepend on one another to support tourism development. Well, these are some of the initiatives, Carl and colleagues on the panel. And there's a lot more Ufta believes that we must do because tourism has to revive. It would take maybe 6 months to 9 months for us to see some sizable numbers, but to get back to 2019 numbers, I think it would take some time, maybe a year or a year and a half. But then in this 1 year, what kind of professionalism one can reflect by hand-holding your travel agents is going to be very important for the associations. And we are bang on this particular focus that as a global connect body, we need to bring people together. And that would be the order of the day. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sunil Kumar. I'd like to invite Mr. Pradeep Lulla to give us a kind of an understanding of how TAFE engaged with various stakeholders on behalf of its membership. Pradeep, could you please share with us what TAFE did during this period? Before I go to the future, from what perspective did you all handle the COVID situation and when it erupted?
Good morning. Good morning to everybody. It's a pleasure to be on this platform today, and just heard some knowledgeable speakers, Mr. Sunil Kumar, who talked about Ufta and the global perspective. This is unprecedented. And basically, when the lockdown actually started on March 23rd, and it was very sudden, and all the flights were just locked down from India. We expected it to not to go till so far. And in this period, of course, there was no business, whether it was domestic or international flights. So the only our agents were only trying to appease their passengers who were calling them up, finding out various issues about when the flights will come in and the refunds and everything. We left no stone unturned. We approached every department of the ministry, starting from the Prime Minister. And then from there, we were put on to MOCA, to DGCA. MOCA is Ministry of Civil Aviation, for people who don't know, and DGCA is Director General of Civil Aviation. These are the regulators in our country. To Ministry of Tourism, everything. So now, initially, of course, we got a lot of cooperation from MOCA. They wanted to know what were the amount of refunds. We connected MOCA with the other associations with IATA. And IATA was very cooperative in giving the amount of refunds which could be there. And so we thought there would be something favorable coming. But unfortunately, the order which came from our regulator was that only refunds would be paid during the tickets issued during the lockdown, and there was nothing issued at lockdown. So we thought, I mean, it's high time we actually progress further. And in that time, there was a petition filed in the Supreme Court by our NGO called Pravasi, which was on the passenger side. And you know, everything was locked down, even the courts. The only way to actually approach the court, the Supreme Court, was to go online. And so we said, okay, let's not waste time. We talked to a managing committee, and we intervened in this petition. But along with this, we also filed a separate writ petition from the travel agents' perspective. And I'm very happy to say, of course, initially, as the petition moved and as the hearing took place, unfortunately, we were not even being recognized. I mean, the DGCA was saying that we are just basically a medium only between the airline and the passenger. And refunds, as Mr. Sunil Kumar said, which has happened to other countries, but unfortunately, in our country, you know, even the IATA had changed the resolution 824R, which we were supposed to actually get refunds on a GDS platform. We had to go through BSP, and it was getting delayed. But the outcome of this eventual outcome, which took place last week, was that there was a special mention of travel agents who are involved in this process, and the refunds would be paid to the passengers through travel agents, firstly, basically in cash, or it would be in a shell, a travel shell. But that travel shell would be transferred to the travel agent in case the passengers don't use. And that is very important, because when we actually do business as travel agents, we facilitate our clients. And any corporate or anybody does not, I mean, there are different people traveling, and therefore the transferability of that shell, not only to someone else in the company, but to even anyone else which we could basically use. And this was actually a little beneficial for us to do business, the ease of doing business, though we were, especially in the low cost. You know, now in India, we have the IATA platform, and then we also do low cost airlines, which is individually through their login. So at least this could help us to do business and facilitate our clients, which is our USP. So with this, now we have to, of course, this is just an order which has been given by the Supreme Court, but the policy has to be generated from the DGCA. So we have written to DGCA to see if we can actually participate in this and make this appeasing to our trade. And so this is actually what we have done in terms of refund. Of course, there is a limit on the refund. If the airline does not pay in terms of credit shells, they have to pay by March 31st. And if they don't, then they have to pay an interest of 9% annualized. So this is basically in terms of refunds. And of course, the other things, what we have been doing is we have been having various webinars for our membership, educating them on various things, including management, including things, including other countries where who are members of our association who have actually used to educate them in various aspects. So this is basically what we have done in terms of refunds. If there's anything, then the other things I can also progress on, but if I have time, Carl.
Thank you, Pradeep, for that little bit, for that brief on what TAFE did to engage, and it's quite interesting. There's a contrast between what Hong Kong has experienced and what our travel trade in India have experienced. It's an interesting contrast, and we're talking about in Hong Kong, $9,000 is what Mr. Leung said was being given per month. But I'm just going to bring in Kun Adi. Kun Adi, are you with us? From Thailand. Do we have Kunadi? I think we've lost her again. Okay, so I'm going to shift to Mr. Pranab Sarkar. Mr. Sarkar, thank you for being here. I'd like to have your opinion. I mean, you just heard Mr. Leung from Hong Kong talk about the tremendous support that he received from the government in Hong Kong. And IATO being a very extremely large body representing a large number of trade members that deal with domestic and inbound. Mr. Sarkar, can I have your views on this, please? You'll have to unmute yourself, Mr. Sarkar.
Yeah, can you hear me now? Yes.
Yes, we can, please.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for giving us this platform and to discuss a few points that this industry is going through at present. As various speakers have already spoken, our pain started since February 2020, because when Chinese tourists were stopped coming and our cancellations started from February onwards, and until March everything got cancelled, and we were informed in February that all foreign tourists to go back, and that was the agony at that time, that all our operators facing big challenges to transport them back without completing their programs. So under the circumstances, there were a lot of hitch between transporting them between the two states, and airports were in a different state. So there was border issue, and we had to seek help from the Ministry of Tourism, and I must tell you that we got tremendous support from the Ministry of Tourism, Government of India, and to repatriate all the tourists back home. And even after that, by 13th of March, all the flights got cancelled, visas were not issued, and all visas issued got cancelled. So it was a very, very big challenge for us, for our members, to really handle situation. But to rescue all the passengers, foreign tourists, we really got the help from the ministry, and also from the airlines to clearing the seats, etc. But later on, the main challenge came, that how we are going to survive, because most of our tour operators are small, medium tour operators. They didn't have support in absence of any business from the industry, because everything was 000. And the challenges came, that how to sustain and how long we have to sustain ourselves. So, considering the fact that initially everybody was hopeful that it will last 2 to 3 months maximum, they will be able to survive. But later on, the notification issued by Ministry of Home that you have to pay on salaries, even if you have to, there is no work. So we had a biggest challenge that how can we pay the salaries, etc. So we demanded within to the government that we should pay salaries. But as rightly mentioned, that Hong Kong got, not only Hong Kong, UK, US, Canada, and many Far East countries, they got the financial help from the government. But in our country, we did not get any help. So, in order to help our members, we had to seek the help of the legal advisors, and we had to conduct a webinar for our membership how to handle that. So we have handled that situation, and we placed our demand to the government for many issues. The refunds were the main issue, as airline was on the top, and then the luxury trains, we had given advances, then advances to the hotels, then we had advances paid to the safari parks, then we had paid advance to the government rest houses and guest houses. No refunds were in place. So we had to approach all along all the people, all the concerned authorities to help us out. And as airline issue, you just mentioned by Mr. Lula that the Supreme Court, so we also become the party to that Pravasi Bharati and TAFI along with, and the results are there that airline refund will be there. We approached FHRI High for refund of the hotels, and majority of the hotels refund have come now, and now we are waiting all the refunds from the government agencies, because we have not got any refund from the luxury trains, we have not got any refund from Air India, we have not got refund from the safari pass from the state governments, we have not got any refund from the rest houses, and we have written all the chief ministers of all the states everywhere, but no result as of now. And India, as you know, country within the country, there is not no one law for refund, etc. Everybody has their own refund policies. So every state have declared their own policies, and also for some respite, some state governments we approach for reduction in the state taxes, and also reduction in the electricity bills, and many other issues. And some of the state governments have come up now with some kind of help they are extending, like Kerala, like Gujarat. They have come out with some kind of Uttarakhand. They have come out and given some respite to the local tour operators. So that is the scene. And you see, the revival is more important. And here we have got all the jobs are being lost at the moment. We are not sure whether we will be back in business in December, January, or April. If it is so, if not, then we have 6 months of summer months. Our industry will not come back till October. So these are the few challenges we are still having, and we are in touch with all the members all the time, and all the ministries keep connected. We have approached not only Ministry of Finance, we have approached Ministry of Home, Ministry of Commerce, Tourism Ministry, MSME, Niti Aayog. Everywhere we have contacted to for the some help from the government, and also the refund of our pending cases to be looked into, because without the refund, how can we refund to our own foreign country and foreign tourists? Because it is the name of the country which is going to be affected, and we don't want that. So we have approached all our concerned ministries, and we are still waiting the replies. Other than the airline issue, except Air India, nothing has yet been sorted out. So this is the current scenario at the moment that we are facing, and we are still dealing with them. We are continuing in our approach and process of seeking help from the government. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sarkar. And so, what I'm getting a sense over here between the comments given by you and by Mr. Pradeep Lulla is that really our trade fraternity in India had to manage on its own, and of course I do understand that there were several legal approaches done by the bodies to secure some level of benefit for your members. I'm going to give one more try to see if we can get Kun Adi on, because I can see she's here. Kun Adi, thank you. I can see you're back with us. If you can unmute yourself and give us a perspective of how ATA handled the situation in Thailand and how responsive was your government.
Yes. Good afternoon now. I think like I'm back. Our association ATA, we have over 1,000 members with us, and as you know, Thailand we had last year, look after almost 40 million tourists into Thailand, but the same. I think we are facing the same situation with all of you. From March onward, we hardly have any passenger, but everybody understand. We all work closely together, among all the members and with other association. Luckily, Thailand, we have the big body called Tourism Council, which consists of 13 main association and from 13 different regions, so all of us together. And then we, Tourism Council, our president, meet with the Tourism Authority of Thailand and also with the Minister of Tourism, as well as the Prime Minister regularly. So we always, communicate with authorities and let them know what had happened. For 3 months, the government have paid. For 3 months, the government have paid like minimum wages to everybody who are on payroll get the minimum. So it's helped us. Help all our members to lower down the cost. But it lasts only for 3 months, but it's something we have to live with, and all of us, we communicate with them on online and offline. All the members are aware of the situation and know how much we are trying our best to help them. In fact, I have to say, our government recognized tourism as one of the main income of the country. Tourism represents 18 to 20% of our GDP. Our Prime Minister himself, with his team, even came to visit us at our association, meet with our president and the executive members, and to hear our voice of what's going on. And the government have allowed the soft loan that the agents, the inbound, outbound, domestic, everybody in travel industry could get the soft loan. And with the soft loan, the first 6 months they don't have to pay anything, and with the interest of 2%. So our government have been very cooperative, and as well as like Tourism Authority of Thailand, who've been so good, always been so active, and always come up with different idea. Like they have set up, we call it CHAI. It's the what do you call it, safety measurement standards that all of the travel company, hotels, and venues that to have this certificate, to be certified, so that we are when Thailand, when the tourism industry open, we are all ready for it. So that's what I have to say right now. And then also, by the way, at the moment we've been informing all our members just to focus on domestic travel and on local tourism. As I mentioned, we had inbound 40 million, but also we have outbound of 12 million. So with these 12 million people who used to go overseas, they can't go anywhere. So that is our market at the moment. And so all our agents are now try to produce the program that will fit in and then that be interesting for the local market. So that's what we are doing.
Thank you, Kun Adi. And I'd like to come back to Mr. Sarkar. Do you see an opportunity here? Because Kun Adi at the end gave a very valid point, and that is focusing on domestic tourism, or rather flipping over the outbound traffic into a domestic. Do you see IOTO going forward in such a process?
You see, we got very good information from Thailand Travel Association that their government is really helping. The Prime Minister himself is reaching them. But here is just opposite. We don't have anything, and like that. Plus, we don't get any loan. Tourism has been declared as one of the high risk business, so no loans for us. And when we approach MSME, there is a loan facility available at 9.25%. Do you think that it is possible to, any tour operator to work on that kind of interest and do business and pay the salary? Is not possible. But domestic, yes, itself is a very big market, but at the moment, the kind of restrictions we had before till lockdown 4, the movement between the states where also some areas were restricted to travel. So domestic was not very openly started. But after lockdown 5, yes, there is some movement that when 50% of our domestic airline they started flying, some of the state they removed the restrictions of going force this 14 days quarantine or 7 days quarantine period they removed. Then some movement they started. Weekend traffic has started, yes, and we have a very big outgoing flow, that is 26 million people they go abroad, and we have this market ready with us, whereas inbound is stopped. So we have to look into that market. And the feature of our Indian movement on domestic is as such that group movements are not yet started as yet. Group movements yet to start. Conferences are yet to start. So no large movement. When families move, they are picking up one destination, direct hotel booking, and they're using their own vehicles for their transport. So there is nothing much for tour operators at the moment. It is very, very limited. Therefore, we see we have to really come out, and we will see only when the huge movement will start, when there will be scarcity of rooms, then only they will approach tour operators, and we will get some business. Otherwise, domestically, tour operator business is, I think it will take longer time to reach out, unless there are some very lucrative packages are offered by some .com companies, they will be benefited, and some wholesalers, they will be benefited. But individual tour operators who were definitely dependent on the foreign tourist and their expertise on foreign tourism, I think it will take a longer time to revive for them. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sarkar. I'd like to ask Mr. Leung, from a Hong Kong perspective, Mr. Leung, how long do you see, or do you see any sort of recovery curve? Is it a V-shaped, a U-shaped? Are you seeing it just going to be L over the next 6 months to a year? What's your outlook for Hong Kong?
Yeah, I think when you are talking about how we're going to reform, how we can restart, I think the first market we face, we are looking into is Macau and China. Because at the moment, Macau and China have no case. And Hong Kong, of course, we still have single-digit cases every day, but that's not too serious. But the important thing is if we are going to reform to start our business, I think it takes at least 2 or 3 months. Then we can have a full force of travel going to Macau and China. I think this is the first two stops. Other than that, the Southeast Asia, I think the government is quite busy talking to 11 countries about a travel bubble. But the travel bubble, I think what they negotiate is they need to have a health code, and I don't think it will exercise within 6 months. I don't think it will work out. Well, so what we are really hoping for is the Macau and the China tour. The second is the domestic travel. At the moment, we don't even we can even operate domestic travel like the green tour or spend to redeem. This is actually we've been working already, and we set up with our suppliers, and a lot of agents are working on it. But unfortunately, the government have a rule that we cannot go with more than 4 person. We have a restricted that we cannot go more than 4 person. So it doesn't work at the moment. So we are hopefully that we can work it within a month, that we can work on the domestic and also Macau and China routes. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Leung. Mr. Pradeep Lulla, I want to come to you. 2 questions for you. Question number 1, what is Taffy's outlook for its members in terms of a recovery graph? Are you going to see a V-shaped, it's going to jump up in the next 6 or 7 months as a result of domestic traffic, or do you still see it flat? And of course, the second question is, what's your opinion, or what's Taffy's opinion on the travel bubbles that India has inked?
Thank you. Firstly, it's definitely will not be V-shaped. At the most, I would say it would be W. It will go down, it will again go up, and it will go down, because there would be a repressive demand which people have not traveled. But just speaking on that, if you actually see now on the when things have opened out, the domestic has opened out, not the international. And as per September 2, I believe 60% flights are operating domestically out of 100. But the passenger capacity is only 60%. So that actually you cannot say 60% operating, you can only say 40% traveling. So there is, and these people who are also traveling now are basically only doing for essential needs, because there are a lot of requirements, SOPs by various states which keep on changing, quarantine rules keep on changing, and health facilities are not clear in various states. So as far as domestic goes also, though that is the next point of revival, because international, till the borders don't open, until the scheduled flights don't start, it will not take place. So now with the membership, of course, we have to be positive in whatever we do. One thing what we did, I think we are the only association which has actually reduced in this pandemic 25% fees. So all our membership fees across the board, we took a managing committee decision, and we have reduced 25% as a show of gratitude to our members who have been there, and a show of compassion. Currently, we have got no support from the government, and all we don't even expect, because the way things are, if you see our economic factors, our GDP has gone down by 26%, and somehow the government feels that tourism will take time. They're not realizing that the people who are involved in tourism is nearly 50,000 agents, though there are 4,200 IATA agents, but it's supporting ancillary 50,000 agents, and it supports 10% of the GDP. But unfortunately, I think they're yet taking time on that. So to our membership, what we are actually trying to tell them is to actually substitute yourself. We are having a lot of these Dekho Bharat webinars where people can try to promote domestic. But the most important part is, which I have been also speaking to our membership, is that we have to regenerate ourselves. Now, what I mean by regenerate is that our actually industry is dead. We have to resurrect and start becoming alive. So we have to think out of the box how to move. Now, there are things even in the domestic tourism. I mean, if you are talking, as Mr. Sarkar said, that we have 27 billion people who travel abroad in 2019, and our focus was, of course, 50 million by 10 years. But the point is this 27 million people who travel abroad also have certain expectations as far as tourists go. So that kind of expectations have to start. And the thinking, actually, we are telling people now, the whole thinking has changed. You know, people today have become, even the behavior of the customer or the passengers, all they want to do is they want to go in some place which is serene, which is open. They want to do things like spas, Ayurveda, you know, these kind of things. So we have to now, we are all educating our membership and also introducing them. And also we are also trying to tie up with other associations who can actually, even IATO, for instance, I have spoken to Mr. Sarkar, that we can actually complement each other, because, you know, our members are basically outbound tour operators. They don't have much inroads into the domestic. So this is what we are trying to do. We are trying to tell our members, be patient, things will happen, but it will take time. Of course, you have to reduce your costs. People are relieving their people, but we are telling them that even if you're small and if you're doing this thing, that things will happen. So this is what we are trying to actually appease our membership and tell them that things will improve. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Lula. And it's good to see, or rather it's good to hear that TAFE and IATO are engaging with each other. And I think that kind of complementary relationship is probably one of the best aspects that we can do in the current environment. I want to ask Mr. Sunil Kumar, as president of Ufta, two questions. Number one, has Ufta engaged with governments for air bubbles, or now you're involved, especially in India? And the second question is, what about encouraging reduction in fees of members of all the associations that Ufta covers?
I'll answer the second one first. On reduction of fee, Ufta has left it to the associations, because there is a initiative by a number of associations to reduce fee, like TAFE has just made an announcement. Some other associations too have made this announcement. And some associations are actually collecting on a very low level, on a very nominal amount that's being collected, and they fear that further reduction would make it very difficult. So this is something that as a federation, we didn't want to impose on an association. But we did make a general recommendation that it would be most welcome if this kind of an approach can be reflected through our actions. Like, you are a member of the SCOL International. You see that SCOL International has not reduced any membership fee. As an international body, it becomes very difficult for us to take certain decisions, especially because it comes in conflict with our constitutions or statutes. And then you need to go to the general body. So there's a process that gets involved. And we felt it's better to leave it with the associations with a general recommendation that we need to empathize with the situation in which our agencies are and try and take it forward. On the aspect of Ufta working with the governments, I must mention that Air Bubbles is a bilateral. It's not a global initiative. It's an initiative between, like, India is on a bilateral agreement with the countries on which it's got these bubble flights. So these are not globally mandatory situations that one part of the world must say yes to the other. But what we've done on tourism front, and you have been representing UAE, you'll be very, very thrilled to learn this, that Ufta has been a pioneer in taking an initiative to bring in UAE and Israel together. And there's a lot of exchange of communication. And for ages, you're aware that Israel and UAE never had any diplomatic connectivity. And today, we feel very, very thrilled that we made this initiative. Communications have gone across. We've been exchanging notes, and very soon there could be a meeting in UAE of the Israeli Tourism Division and the Abu Dhabi or the UAE Tourism Division. So that's the kind of a connect Ufta is trying to encourage. Like with the Latin American governments, we are working very closely to a very large Latin American association called Actual, and Actual is a tourism association of the Latin America, and a lot of governments, Actual and Ufta, are already connected, and this connectivity keeps on expanding because that's one part of the world where tourism is already opened up. So some of us who are not aware will be very surprised that Turkey has been very successful. It was initially Antalya, and now it's another part of Turkey which has been receiving tourists, and over 2 million tourists have already come in. And that's an area that Ufta feels excited to exchange information, promote such destinations, and share the information globally. Ufta is a partner with WATA. WATA is a World Association of Tourism Agencies. But these are not open tourism agencies. They are GSAs. And WATA is about 65-year-old body. They only pick up one GSA per country. And they don't have a second GSA in most countries. So Ufta and all the GSAs of the world through WATA are now connecting on the tourism platform that I talked about. And I think that's a better connect than, we did try it out with governments, but we find, particularly in India, and I must speak about Thai at this stage, that Thai has done tremendous work in reaching out to the government. They've spent so much of time, and so many representations have gone. And I'm fully with Mr. Pradeep and Mr. Pranab, all Thai, Tafi, Ayato. We work very closely together. It's a big disappointment that in India, you're not at all given neither acknowledgement nor are you supported in any which way, which actually is a very large demotivating aspect of India. Because when I interact with my colleagues from all over the world, be it Canada, be it Israel, be it Philippines, even in Philippines 2 days ago, Richie, the president, was mentioning to me that the government's quite active there. It was initially not active, but now they've become more and more active. So most associations all over Europe, the salaries of the staff are being paid. Now, this is something that we very badly miss in India.
Thank you, Mr. Kumar. And I absolutely agree with you on the fee aspect. SCOL International has an AGM on the 17th of October. And this will be a subject of much deliberation in terms of membership fee, because it affects membership retention. And on a personal level, we have our SCOL India AGM on the 28th of October in Chennai, where I will also be discussing this with the leadership and the members on this particular point. And so I'd like to go to Kun Adi again. Kun Adi, you've spoken about the government giving you support. You spoke about the Prime Minister visiting you all. What about membership retention? How are you going to manage this in 2021 and 2022? Is there a fee waiver? Are there subsidies beyond what your association is going to get involved in?
Yes, for Thailand, for ATA, we reduced the fees by 50%. Whoever paid this year will get a waive next year. So everybody quite happy. And then talking, I want to go back with our government support, hearing from everybody. And then I think we are so blessed with Thailand because our government have various schemes. For example, they have the travel, they support, they subsidize, they set the target of 10 million room nights that for domestic travel for all the Thais to travel, and the government will subsidize 40% of the hotel rooms plus the expenses. And all the hotels have been so cooperative. So the local people who couldn't ever before afford to go to Phuket now could go because the hotel has dropped down so much. With the deduction, they would pay only about $30, US dollars to stay in a pool villa. And the government subsidized the air ticket by $2,000, which is about $60. So for everybody, traveling is become affordable. And also the government had allow the medical staff. I think like you probably have heard that Thailand, we've been successful how to contain COVID because we have all these medical volunteer medical staff all over Thailand. There are about 2 million of them that the government allow them to travel on government expenses. So that's how lucky we are.
Thank you, Konadi. Mr. Sarkar, do you see a challenge for IATO to retain its members in 2021, 2022?
Yes, this is a big challenge, not only IATO members, but I think the entire industry is facing a biggest challenge because in spite of contributing 10% of GDP, about 40 million plus workers, their jobs are at stake. And the threat is that in absence of any kind of help from the government or otherwise, they will shift from tourism industry to some other industry. So our experienced staff, they if they shift, that is the biggest loss we are going to face. It is not only the association they are going to lose out the membership, but also the challenge of losing the trained staff from the industry. It will take long time to get a staff trained and provide professional services. So that is a threat. Though our membership this year, we have already issued the membership charges, but we feel that till last year March they have had business, so they could pay. But next year we are planning that we should be giving zero membership fees and continue their membership with our association. But this is nothing unless we get some help from the government. It will not help, and we are praying to the government that as soon as the borders are open, please give free visa facility as other countries are giving, airlines to open up, and then no restrictions for quarantine. And there should be some kind of methodology for a speed checkup of COVID test, so that on board and before the boarding and on arrival, so that those people who are not at all affected with COVID, they should be allowed to go on to have their tours and enjoy themselves. Not only with the foreign clients, but also for the domestic clients, they should implement this kind of situation, which some of the airports have already started in, and we hope that it will be implemented soon. And with this help, maybe some tourism may start. And we feel that, as you mentioned, whether it will be a V shape or U shape, we don't see any shape at the moment till October 2021, because it will take really long time, because it is the confidence level of the tourist. They should feel good with the kind of situation at present in India. People are not really getting any confidence to travel to India at the moment. And we also should be welcome to visit other countries. So accordingly, there is a bilateral agreement by both the countries. Unless India open up, they will not open up. So tourism is in a really a standstill situation, where we have to come out with our good governance and some acceptable norms for travel, so that it can start and flourish. I'm sure people are waiting at their house to get out, but there are restrictions. If you see, India is the market where most of the inbound tourism is by the elderly people who have more money to spend, and they visit for a longer duration of period. But the restrictions comes after 60. If that restriction comes those countries, those travelers will be missing. So our starting cannot be V shape at all. So it will be gradual. That's what I expect. And we hope that it will soon be, the vaccinations will start coming in, and then only some people will be very encouraged to travel. And we are sure that our government will do some positive decisions to help us, and we will have our business back to our country again. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sarkar, for all those points. I mean, very well noted points. Mr. Leung, I'm going to come to you. Hong Kong. you all have been really quite affected for a year, if not more. Everything from protests to closures of airports, demonstrations, and then of course you get hit by COVID. What has been the impact on your membership retention in 2020 renewals, and what do you think is going to happen in 21 or 22?
Uh, I think we've been almost completely locked down for over a year because the demonstration and all these starts last year at June. So that's really affect a lot in inbound. So the important thing is the another problem is the COVID-19 starts in January. So up to now we are affected by almost 8 to 9 months. Luckily, the government is really helping us a lot in giving us funds and all these just I mentioned. And and actually, what we really looking forward is the 2021. We really almost lost hope on 2020 already. So we really hope that in 2021, and then we can start the health code, then we can start the Macau and China tour, then we can stop the 14 days quarantine, and also the four-person restriction because at the moment we cannot go around together with more than 4 person. So after this, maybe a few months later, I think it will work out a lot because all our members are waiting for this for the situation. Like everything is ready. We've been working with the hotels, the theme park to get special rates, and also the buses company. And also one thing good is the airport authority have help the tourist industry by throwing out 500,000 free tickets. So to give it to the travel agents and the airline to operate special package tour. So the package tour should be in a form of airline uh, airline airline tickets, hotel accommodation, and attractions and meals, so that some of them can have free tours, such as you can operate something like 2+1 or 1+1 free to Hong Kong. But this one we still have to wait until everything calm down. At least we still work on the health code. That's very important. So, and other than that, what the agent is really looking for is not other than these tours from overseas, but also the local tours. The government is also helping spend redeem program, something like that you spend a certain amount of money in Hong Kong, then you can redeem a free tour in Hong Kong. So we really work with a lot of this kind of tour. The only thing is we are still waiting for the vaccine. If it comes out, then everything should be okay. But at the moment, we still have to wait we keep our finger crossed and see what we can do. Let God help us. Thank you.
Well, Mr. Leung, so just to dive a little deeper, did you manage to retain all your members in the last 1 year, or did you see a drop?
Sorry to tell you that it drops. Some of the member really, even the government is really subsidizing a lot, but still, especially the middle one, the middle class one. So they really have to pay for a lot of salary for the staff and the rental, and also as one of your gentlemen mentioned, the refunds from the airline and the hotel, really killing us.
Thank you, Mr. Leung. Pradeep, coming to you, Mr. Pradeep Lulla, what do you think will be the effect on TAFE's membership in 2021? A little earlier, Mr. Sunil Kumar spoke about SCOL. And I think these are challenges we will face in SCOL International and even SCOL India. This will be one of the topics we will discuss at our AGM on the 28th. But coming to TAFE, what do you think is the implication for the renewals that you will come up for in 2021? I'm not so much from an income perspective for the association, but as indicative of what's happening in our industry.
First thing, I strongly believe the members who are there see value. Fortunately, in TAFE, we have a scheme called the JBGA, which is a joint bank guarantee arrangement, where currently about 230 members are participating. And it's mandatory. If you have to participate, you have to be a member. No non-member can do it. Similarly, I think we are also looking at various ways where we can cooperate to retain our members. And I think thinking out of the box, even amongst associations, if we work out schemes and maybe alliance, not membership. Maybe now, if people see membership, people see value later, they would become a member. But the part is, as how Mr. Leung said, that if people who are actually going out of business, they will see no value to be a member, and many people would be going out of business. So naturally, they would not be a member of any association if they're closing business. So taking all this into account, I think currently, of course, we are yet having a challenge recovering fees even after reducing 25%. So we have to look at ways and means of creating more value so that they see to be a member. So this is what I see. But of course, I think everyone will lose their membership because of the erosion of the market growing. Even IATA members, even IATA will lose members being IATA agents, because there also people are questioning the need to be IATA and charging higher fees. So this is the aspect on membership. Hello.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Pradeep Lulla. I'm going to take a question because it's 1:07. It's 13:07 now, and we've reached our time limit. There is a question here, and I'll throw this to the entire panel, especially from India. What could be the reason that in India the communication between small or medium tour operators and government is not good enough or not efficient enough, that they do not receive support in this tough time? And so that's a question from the audience that's been sent to me. And I'll address this question first to Mr. Sarkar, Pranab Sarkar. Is there something, sir, that needs to be done? Is it just that the government doesn't want to listen, or is there something that we need to do to attract their attention, especially from the small and medium-sized travel industry member?
Yes, government is listening, but they are not giving any decision on what is happening or what is not. So till such time there is they are in the right side, that they are giving you a space to visit them, and listening and assurance are given. Till such time, I don't think that we have to do anything other way around, unless we are absolutely dying down and we have no other scope, and they say that not possible or something like that. Till such time, I think we should have a cordial relationship between the government and the associations, so that we can take it forward. And maybe it has not come so far, but in a few days or in a month or so, there may be
10
something
minutes.
positive result it may come, because we are expecting something to happen. And if something happens, then it is good for everybody. So instead of going on the road or agitation or anything other way around, I don't think that the association can do it. But as an individual people, they have all the right in our country to protest or do the agitation, whatever they want. But associations need to be restricted. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Sarkar. We're coming to the end of the session, and I would like to invite Mr. Murari Jha, editor of Travel T3. Mr. Jha, are you there? And would you like to ask any questions to our panel?
Just a minute, sir. Just a minute. So we already discussed about the refunds and other things. One of the questions that has come from the audience that how do you, as an agent, how do you see the future of the hotel industry?
And would you like to address this question to someone?
Mr. Sarkar?
Yeah. Okay. Hotel industry future, I think it will come back. It will bounce back, and especially those hotels are already getting benefit who are situated out of the city and resort locations. They are already started getting their business, and it will take little time for the metro cities to fill up. At the moment, some hotels are getting getting filled up during the weekends, and as soon as the restrictions of the borders areas and some statutory requirement of COVID test is over, I'm sure all hotels will be benefited, and it will start soon. If you see, the Uttarakhand opened up, and the huge rush is on towards all the Char Dham areas and for rafting. As soon as Himachal, open up, all the hotels got full and there was traffic jams. So I think hotel industry will bounce back very soon.
Okay, thank you, thank you.
Kunadi, I have a question for you. Obviously, you're looking at a fair amount of business in the future coming in into Thailand, hopefully, and resumption of tourism. What has is there some sort of a learning mechanism that you'll have with perhaps the Tourism Authority of Thailand or TSEB that perhaps our associations in India can understand?
For me, I think the key is cooperation. I think it's once you work as teamwork together, I think that is the key. And also when you put working together into cooperation, then your voice being heard easily. And also it's up to the government as well, how they support. But I think what I can see is cooperation. And then I think, as I mentioned, luckily Thailand, we have Thailand Tourism Council that been registered and been accepted by the government for now 18 years. So I think that's have been very helpful. And I think besides the travel industry ourselves, we also get the support from the corporation, the big corporation in Thailand. Just yesterday, all these big corporation in stock market, each big company allow and pay the staff certain amount, minimum of like $100 to go out and travel. So that is how everybody helping together. I think giving and sharing is the key that I think, and also working together as teamwork. Teamwork is most important.
Thank you, Kunadi. Mr. Leung, I'll come to you. Just as a final question, sir. Has there been a relationship that is in play between your association and Hong Kong Tourism Board, HKTB?
Oh, yeah. Of course, we are working very closely with the Hong Kong Tourism Board. Just now, I mentioned some of the program, like what I just mentioned, the Spend Redeem program is operated by them, and they are helping us a lot. Actually, in Hong Kong, other than the Hong Kong Tourism Board, we still have the Tourism Commissioner. So they really help us a lot. We from time to time we've been talking with them, sharing ideas, how we going to survive. Nowadays, it's not making money, but to survive. So we have in Hong Kong, we have 1,700 agents, and all of them, how many still survive in 2020? I really don't know, but at least I hope on 2021 we still have a lot of activities to go. Just now, Eddie just mentioned cooperation. I really agree with this. Like Hong Kong, we are working very closely with the Hong Kong Tourism Board, the Tourist Commissioner, and also we are working with the hotel and also the theme park. We are working very closely with them to provide special packages and also not only the packages, a special rate and any redeem policy and all these things will come up and trying to attract more tourists come to Hong Kong. But as I just mentioned, what we are needed now is the virus. You know, the virus have to go off before we can do anything, right? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Leung. Mr. Sarkar, one final question to you. Do you see a need for a deeper engagement between the Ministry of Tourism, Incredible India, or perhaps with the individual state tourism development corporations, whether it's GTDC in Goa or MTDC in Maharashtra and so on and so forth, with across the states? Is there a platform where these people, where you feel IATO needs to engage with them, or have you already done it?
Yes, we are already in touch with Ministry of Tourism, and we have already planned out what would be the next after post-COVID, how we are going to do our marketings, how we are going to take our packages, what are the essential things that we should put in forward to attract the foreign tourists and also the domestic tourists. So these are we are doing with Incredible India. Government of Ministry of Tourism, Government of India, and we are also engaged with all the states within India, and we have our all the chapter chairmen. They are in touch with the chapter state tourism ministers, and with this we have also started. You know, the we have bi-weekly we have a webinar with our membership engaging the state government people to showcase their state as well as they talk about the facilities available post COVID and all these things we have initiated and one by one we are doing it. And in the meantime we are also trying to keep our members engaged with the some kind of training program so that their staff can be keep engaged with the webinars and they learn more on the subject. And to initiate we have tomorrow there is a big program where we have invited all the associations and all the university students to attend one motivational lecture by Mr. Shiv Khera. He is a renowned speaker for our country, you know that, and we have given this open and free joining this, and we have already crossed approximately 3,000 people already registered, so they should get benefited. And after that we are having a 40 days training program for our membership to enhance their knowledge with this. Plus, we will be engaging them, our membership, with the bi-monthly this webinars, engaging the state governments, so that every state has the some opportunity to speak to our members and keep them motivated and develop the new programs, new itineraries, not only domestic but also international tourist programs they will engage. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sarkar. Mr. Pradeep Dulla, last final question to you. We've heard a lot about how TAFE is engaged with the Prime Minister's Office, DGCA, Ministry of Civil Aviation, IATA, and of course, you all have done a lot with the Supreme Court issues as well. But what about state tourism boards or Incredible India? Is that something that TAFE would look at, or is it really in this case more of dealing with the refund policy?
Of course, I'll answer this question, but I wanted to make a very important point, which I would like to address it to our panelists. Yes, regarding this, of course, as our members are not, domestic tour operators, yes, but we have been participating in all the webinars. We have interacted with Ministry of Tourism, and currently we are also encouraging our members to become a member of the Government of India Tourism, because we have also through faith learned that though we have got 50,000 agents in the country, but the people recognized by the Government of India are only 13 or 1400. So it is also our duty to be part of the system. So this is what we are doing, and yes, we are interacting. But of course, IATO is a big brother. They have been, of course. So we would also like IATO to complement with us and work with the state tourism. But the other point which I wanted to bring was, and which is a very important part, is that from 1st of October, tax collected at source has been introduced by our government on all outbound tours. Now, this is, they will make our outbound tours 5% more expensive if you're a PAN card holder, and if you're not PAN card holder, it'll be 10% more expensive. We just had a webinar on this by a very renowned consultant, and only to bring, and what he said that, if you have these kind of things by the government, of course, this TCS can be adjusted against your final tax payment, which is after 18 months. But he said today, all the foreign, if you go on any foreign website, which is not listed in India, your tours would be 5 to 10%, and including the GST would be cheaper. So on this, of course, we are writing, we are taking this. This is an act of parliament. Of course, for it to be removed is not possible. But I would urge everybody in our industry to actually write to the government to get the threshold reduced. Because if you're actually buying a car today, a luxury car, a Mercedes or anything, the TCS is 1%. And in travel, it is 5%, and if you have this, how are we, instead of giving us the impetus, the government is actually trying to even make it more difficult for us. So this is one other point which I wanted to make. And I think now the time has come for all of us in the industry to actually write these points. Now we want is ease of doing business. We are not looking at even getting any impetus as our panelists from Hong Kong and Thailand have done, and we've got nothing. But what will happen is, even people who survive after this pandemic, if these kind of policies are coming from the government, I mean, this will be nothing but will kill us further. So this is the point I just wanted to make to the panelists.
Thank you, Mr. Lola, and I do understand that as well, that not only are refunds a burning issue or the support that's required from the government, but even the introduction of TCS at the rate of 5% over and above the GST issues is further complexing our entire recovery. And yes, you are right. I am aware as well that there are certain online platforms that don't fall within this purview. But thank you for bringing that to our notice. I'm sure Murari Jha is here, has made notes, and I'm sure Murari will take care of this in his edit. From my side, I want to thank all our panelists from Thailand, from Kunadi in Thailand, to Mr. Leung in Hong Kong, Mr. Sarkar, IATO head, for Mr. Pradeep Lula, yourself, Mr. Sunil Kumar. Thank you so much for being here. And I would like to hand over back to Murari and Akshay Kumar for the closing, please.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kal. It was indeed an insightful session. On behalf of Informa Markets India, SATTE GenX and Travel Trends Today, I extend my heartfelt gratitude to each one of you and our great audience for attending this informative session. My special thanks to Mr. Kal was for conducting the session so brilliantly. Thank you once again for the great session, sir. Our next knowledge session, titled Hospitality, the Future of Hotel Industry, is scheduled at 2:30. Uh, Once again, a big thanks to Mr. Pranab Sarkar, Mr. Kalwas, Mr. Pradeep Lulla, Kunnadi, Mr. Sunil Kumar, and Mr. Paul for being with us at SATTE GenX. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.